So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we have with us Dr. Emily. So, how are you, Emily?
Oh, doing pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so can you please tell us about yourself?
I'm a naturopathic doctor, so that's like a standard doctor you go to, but then also with nutrition, physical medicine, a number of other things. I do a lot of regenerative medicine, so work with joint injections and different things to help break up calcifications and just help people get healthier bodies. Um, Generally help people get out of pain dysfunction to get back to spending time with their kids and grandkids without drugs or surgery. Though, I can prescribe drugs, but, tend to not use them so much if we don't need them.
Okay, so I went through your Instagram page and I just mesmerized with it, and I was thinking that this lady is guiding on a next level to the people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I got impressed with that, and I really like your page. I'll put the link in the description so people can also follow you and reach your Instagram page.
Oh, great. Yeah, I try to put a lot of content that people could use or talk to their doctor about, depending on
Yeah,
what it is.
awesome. All right, so let's begin with some couple of usual question, what people would like to know about. Okay, so what you guide people about supplement dosage, like especially in terms of vitamins and minerals?
Yeah, so it can vary from person to person a little bit because certain things like potassium, most people need about 4,500 milligrams of potassium a day, but some people are bigger or smaller. But then there's also people that are on potassium sparing diuretics, which is for blood pressure. And that can be dangerous for them to have a normal amount of potassium because their body is not letting it out of their body. And so it can concentrate, or somebody on a blood thinner. So some things, have to be an individual basis. And so, it may mention something, but it's always important for somebody to talk to somebody that's educated, like a naturopathic doctor, to figure out what exactly they need. Or like magnesium, the needs somebody have, like, may depend on how much they're getting in their diet quite a bit. And some people can get quite low, and it can affect their bowel movement rates quite a bit, because if you look at so the bowel is basically the long tube, has 2 layers of muscle around it, and we need potassium and we need magnesium for the muscles to relax. And so if magnesium goes too low, people may become quite constipated, and so they might come into the office with really, really tight muscles and muscle pain, and sometimes they're not having a bowel movement but once a week. Sometimes they even end up with herniated discs because of it. And so they might need quite a high dose. I might tell them to take 500 milligrams 3 times a day. But somebody else, who's just got a little bit of stress, I may just have them spray it topically on the areas where, if they're not constipated or having other signs that it's an overall body issue.
Okay. What I mean to say is overdosing of supplements may cause toxic effect to body.
Well,
can you say that?
Well, it's like, so, even people could have too much water and kill themselves with that. Technically. So, there's certain things like, well, B vitamins, if somebody has a little bit too much, they're probably fine because they pee them out. But if somebody's going and taking massive doses, they could hurt themselves. And so there's fat soluble vitamins, which somebody may want to be a little bit more careful about dosing. But in reality, people got so cautious about the fat soluble vitamins that, like vitamin D, most people in America are deficient because even the lab ranges that they get to like a frighteningly low level because it's only based on an average of our population. And so with that range where it goes kind of frighteningly low, like 47% of the US population is below that. So it's like, well, they're going to have low mood, their bone density is going to be worse, their energy is going to be lower. But vitamin D, somebody could have too much, but it would take quite a bit. So it's like supplements that somebody buys in the store are usually formulated with the idea that they don't want to have any big effect, or they don't want anybody to be able to walk into the store, take the dosage on the bottle and possibly hurt themselves, or any dosage like a couple times more than that. So
Okay, thank you. So can we say that sometime in a certain cases of supplements, the doses provided on the label are incorrect in a certain cases of a particular vitamin in a mineral? Can you say that?
Yeah, so it's like often the doses on the bottle are not going to cause a therapeutic effect. Yeah. And things get confusing because there's certain things like with B12 and with folate, the body puts a methyl group on it as part of this biochemical circle that kind of keeps going so you can use it. And some people, the genes they have to code for the enzyme to put that methyl group on is defective. Well, some people, maybe they have one enzyme working and one not. Some people don't have either of the enzymes working. So it's like one person might really, really need that supplement in a methylated form. And then there's different issues that come into play. Like now they've got a synthetic vitamin D, but I don't know, I'm not seeing it really get the results that actual real vitamin D gets. Or there's folic acid, but that's not the actual vitamin folate, you know, and so it becomes a tricky thing sometimes in the store figuring out what to get.
Okay, and let's move on one particular question of a very practical scenario. Based on my observation of a certain client, they told me that they got a diet from some so-called nutritionist and a dietitian, and they told them to avoid dairy products.
Dairy
And
products?
yeah, exactly, dairy products.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that particular diet, there was no but a good source of calcium. So they're facing, yeah, they're facing a joint issue like tick sound from the joints within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
so what you suggest in that kind of particular diet, people should go for calcium supplement or a bone?
yeah. So calcium lactate tends to be a pretty absorbable calcium. Calcium like carbonate is not the greatest form, but is often added to things. There's different. Well, the bones, they have calcium. They have a lot of magnesium. You need vitamin D to have good bone strength. You need good muscle mass to pull on the bones to have good bone density because they need that stimulus, that mechanical stimulus. But yeah, in some cases, it's like, well, people are in different areas. Sources of calcium can vary, or what foods are available. In general, it's like, you know, babies tend to be more lactose tolerant than adults. Certain populations tend to get lactose intolerant more than others. And sometimes when there's a period of not having lactose, the kind of the genes kind of switch off somewhat. Like genes can be switched off by either methylation or demethylation. And so someone may be getting congested or something, so somebody's worried about them having too much calcium, or maybe they have a lot of there's too much dairy, sorry, or they, dairy breaks down into sugar rather fast, and so they may be worried about them having too much inflammation. But with dairy, it's kind of a spectrum, because it's like, well, if you're having a hard-aged cheese, that's not going to have as much of the sugar in it, so that's not going to cause too much of a problem. But the creamer or milk is going to cause a lot more problem. And so the person may go more with the cheese, but if they have supplements around, calcium, lactate, sorry, yeah, so supplementing calcium can be a good way to go. And then in certain periods of time, we need more, like typically pregnant women, children, and then breastfeeding women need a lot of calcium. Breastfeeding women particularly because their body will leach it from their bones to give it to the baby. So that can turn out into such an imbalance that it leads to osteoporosis in the future. So there's calcium that can kind of get on tendons and cause different issues, and kind of sometimes it'll get kind of crusty on certain muscles because it's gone somewhere it doesn't belong. So I guess calcium becomes a complicated issue, but we do need some of it. It's just sometimes people are over supplementing it. Yeah, but certain places, obviously, it's not available as much in the food. Yeah.
Is there any technique or is there any remedy to cure lactose intolerance?
So I can't use the word cure ever, but sometimes that's a tricky thing. Okay, so sometimes the body will stop, like, let's say you tested somebody to see if they were glucose intolerant and lactose intolerant in certain methods, and they hadn't had glucose or sorry, gluten or lactose intolerant, and they hadn't had either of those things in quite a while, they would likely show up that they had an intolerance for that because they don't have the enzymes to break it down being made. And so some people may be able to introduce a tiny bit of, cheese back into their life slowly, and then maybe they can start tolerating other things as well. Though often people tolerate cheese, but they don't tolerate milk. So I can't totally give a definitive answer for that.
All right, so Emily, I went through a couple of posts on your Instagram, and I seen one of those. It was about caffeine. So
yeah,
it was something like people suddenly stop drinking coffee but consuming caffeine. So what you guide for it?
Oh yeah, because if somebody suddenly stops drinking coffee, they can start having headaches. And so there's different ways to go about that. So sometimes tapering off of it can be a better approach than just going off of it right away. But making sure this person has adequate magnesium, sometimes topical magnesium for the head, because there's the blood vessels dilate when we have caffeine. And so when we don't have it, then they've been used to having the stimulus to dilate from caffeine, and so they'll squish down and they'll give us a really bad headache often. And so magnesium will get into the muscles. Obviously, if the person's eyes closed, they don't want to spread their eyes, but magnesium will get into the muscle around the blood vessel and help that relax. But then there's other things like taking nitric balance. That's different things to increase nitric oxide, basically. So that'll help the blood vessel dilate to deal with the headaches. And somebody may want to, kind of spray magnesium on sore muscles, and that, muscles that are getting tighter due to that. So those are two great ways to go about things. And then just sometimes, having something else kind of as an energy boost, like maybe they'll want to take some ginseng or with bee pollen or something like that to give them a little bit of energy as they're getting used to not having caffeine.
All right. So people are always confused about the amount of sugar. So what you suggest people, how much amount they should consume per day in terms of calorie?
So, it's not that people necessarily need to get any sugar, because when you think about it, like if you have protein, the body converts that to blood sugar in a nice stable way, so your blood sugar, stays nice and stable. But if you have, breads, pastas, crackers, sweets, that kind of does this with the blood sugar. And so people have issues with, maybe they're feeling fine for a second or really anxious, and then they've got very low energy and they're not feeling good, and can just kind of go all over the place. Then they can get diabetes. Some people are more prone to, when they have those dips, the body thinks it's starving, and so they start packing on fat as a way to save them later when, for famine.
But I know it's very person to person. No doubt sugar is not that much toxic what people think, but for athletes, it's a different. For the person who has a sedentary lifestyle, they need a different amount of sugar, or like people who regularly work out, depend on a workout or an activity. But still, what you suggest for an average person?
Yeah, and so for working out, some people will get away with more carbs, but it doesn't actually mean that needs to be how they're getting their blood sugar. For the average person, they want to keep sugar under 30 grams a day. And so, it's like, I tell people, don't worry about counting how many net carbs are in your vegetables, except for like potato, corn, sweet potato, yams, those kinds of things are simple carbohydrates. So, pretty close to having crackers or pasta or this kind of thing. Beets have some more sugar technically, but they help us process our fats, and so it doesn't affect us in the same exact way if you're having actual beet. Yeah.
Okay, so means people need a 30-gram average sugar.
They don't need it,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's allowance, I guess you could say, of,
Okay,
get
that's
away with.
allowance
Yeah.
is okay. All right. So that limit will not push people uh, in the direction of any disease like diabetes or something, blood pressure issues.
So, I mean, it's not, so if somebody's trying to like come back from being in a very unhealthy state, sometimes they have to be stricter for a little while than other people are having to be. And generally, if you're going to have sugars, it's like, well, can it be from a serving of, multiple different colors of berries or something? So you're getting antioxidants of different kinds, because the different colors provide different kinds of antioxidants, as opposed to just, getting gummy bears or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so the sugars could get converted into inflammatory fats in the body, and that can cause issues with it packing in the artery walls, which basically acts like a glue on the artery wall. So when it's trying to expand and contract like this, like it's supposed to do all day, that makes it more difficult. Then little calcium deposits get on there, and that causes trouble as well because it becomes more hardened. So, you want to make sure somebody's not having too much of that. People get really concerned about having protein, which really is based on a lot of doctors saying, that protein's bad for the kidneys. That's really only based on what's found in end-stage kidney failure, where there's extreme structural changes, where the holes in the filtration system, the protein molecule can get through when it normally wouldn't, and then that's aggravating to that hole that's already been stretched out. So not saying that there aren't other circumstances where somebody might have to limit protein for one reason or another, but typically people are avoiding protein way too much and don't realize how powerful that can be. Like, I don't necessarily get to go to the gym a lot, but I have better, lean body mass than a lot of the people I see that don't listen to me about diet, but go to the gym 5, times a week, so it makes a big difference. Yeah.
I have seen a couple of people who are afraid to consume more than 100 grams of protein just because of kidney issue.
I usually have 200 something grams a day. I start the day with 150 grams, which I understand can be a large amount for somebody to get down. So I typically tell people, the average person to try to get at least half their body weight in grams of protein a day, or otherwise usually energy is pretty bad. And I've had people's glomerular filtration rate, so that's the rate at which their kidneys can filter, improve with increasing protein, so that it can have a positive effect. It's just if somebody's at a pretty bad stage, that it's like, well, people do have to be cautious. And I'm sure maybe there's some, there are all kinds of rare genetic diseases and different things, so I don't want to say overall everybody can have a large amount of protein, but a lot of people can. Yeah.
All right, so that's a really great answer. Even I'm keep learning while conversation.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so also people are confused about some like a few big meals or lots of small meals. So
yeah,
in terms of metabolism, or in terms of adrenal fatigue or any other internal organ need to effort more to proceed. So in terms of what you suggest?
So that can vary a little bit. I eat a lot, but I eat really healthy, so I don't have to worry about getting out of shape from it. I do a lot, so I have big meals and small meals, but some days I'll just have the big meals. But there are different considerations for like rest and digest, like the part of the nervous system where you're supposed to be relaxed, which actually you're supposed to be in most of the time. But there is, like, as far as if you have set times of the day that your body has been trained in a rhythm to start releasing enzymes, start releasing stomach acid, then that can be very beneficial for digestion. So if somebody's able to have like 3 large meals a day, that can...
Sure, people should consume meals as per their schedule. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
regular meals, if they can do that. And snacking's not bad. Like, people often are on this whole thing of, you know, they got to lose weight and they've got to deprive themselves by counting calories, and that does not work out well. You know, I know sometimes people are doing different athletic things where they have to be like right within a, you know, weight mark or something like that. So maybe somebody doesn't eat as much the day they get weighed for that kind of thing. I don't know. But in general, when people starve themselves and their body thinks it's famine, the body thinks it's got to store up, you know, inflammatory fats and on the body, and that's not the best situation to be in. I've had some people come in and they're like partially disabled because of injuries, and their doctors have told them to severely limit their calories to keep from gaining weight, and it's like, that is not working. There's no reason why that would work with physiology. It's like the body needs to feel like it's not starving, or otherwise it starts doing desperate weird things, you know, to survive.
All right, so my little bit experience saying that small snacking gonna maintain the mood, maintain the hormone balance. What do you say according to that?
Yeah, so I think if somebody starts to feel hungry naturally, they should eat. They shouldn't be limiting themselves on how much they eat. So it's like, yeah, it's good to have regular meals, and your body knows to get, you know, stomach acid and enzymes ready and everything for that. But if you feel hungry in between, because some days I do a lot more and I just need to scarf food down and keep going, or otherwise I will drop, you know, like, so it's important that somebody give into their natural cravings and not just become completely out of rhythm from them. It's like, well, yeah, it's nice to have a set pattern to some degree. And sometimes, like, if somebody were to travel to another area, they might take like bitter tincture to send the reflex through their vagus nerve to from that flavor, to tell their body, oh, start releasing enzymes, start making stomach acid, to reset their rhythm so they can get more used to being in a new time zone. So there's used to having regular meals, but there's no reason for somebody to not let themselves eat until the next meal. If they're eating cruddy food in between, then maybe they should think about having more healthy snacks around, you know, and easy to grab. But I'm not a big fan of, you know, starvation or, you know, food limiting. I know that sometimes some organized fasts for some reasons can be useful, but, you know, they're not that great typically.
Okay, got you. Okay, so my channel is basically based on a fitness. So usually a couple of fitness athlete all the way from India and Canada, they're watching me usually on my Instagram and YouTube. So in terms of protein absorption, what is 3 large meal or divided meals?
So, I mean, some sources will say like, oh, somebody can only absorb 45 grams of protein per meal. I know that's not true, because I would feel terrible if I only had 45 grams of protein in the morning. But yeah, I have to work long days and my body's used to me putting a large amount of protein. So somewhat it's used to, like, it depends on what the body is used to getting at that time period, because the body will get used to being like, okay, I need this much of this enzyme because somebody has a lot of protein to break it down. Just like if I give somebody iron, I might start, some people are very deficient, so I need to give them huge doses of iron for a period of time, but I'm not going to start them on the huge dose of iron. I start them on low doses and let their body get used to absorbing that amount as much as I can and having the other things it needs to absorb that. So I would say with foods, the same thing goes there. It's like, if the body is used to getting a large amount of protein in a meal, it's used to doing that, and it'll be better able to absorb that. So I would say, I mean, I can tell the difference, at least personally, getting a large amount of protein, and people that I give larger amount of protein, it's nice if they can split it up somewhat, but sometimes schedule doesn't allow for that so much. So it's like, if they know, oh, I can get a huge chunk of protein in the morning, which is nice because it's good to have a lot of protein in the morning anyway, and then have, you know, plenty of like easy to grab. Like I have like boxes of protein bars in my room right now, you know, because sometimes I just gotta grab in between. But I would say the limit is kind of iffy, because, you know, somebody could absorb 100 grams of protein from a single meal, or, you know, it's just, Also, there's different rates of how fast things are going through somebody's bowels, and so that can affect things as well. So there's a lot of variation, I would say. Yeah.
Usually women avoiding weight training and not
Oh,
consuming enough protein.
oh, because they're trying to get their weight down.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Oh, yeah. So in that case, they might say that they're only going to have half their body weight in grams of protein a day, and then be very stringent on not having the carbs. And then the thing with that is, like, if somebody is adjusting from like having a very high protein diet to a low protein diet, the fungus in their gut is living off those simple sugars, and so one, it sends off those organisms or microbes send off biomessengers that tell the brain that we want more sugar than we actually do. And then two, when they start to die off from being deprived of the carbs, they release these endotoxins. And so with that, those endotoxins can be taken up from the bowels through our hepatic portal system and dumped into the circulation. So there's different things to consider with that. Is the person getting enough water? If they don't have water restrictions, can they have 12 cups of water a day? And can they make sure they have plenty of vegetables or fiber sources during that time period to trap the toxins and basically their poops to get it out? And so, because otherwise reabsorbing those toxins can make somebody feel like they have the flu, basically, like body aches, really sick. But also if somebody's constipated, that's going to hit them harder because things aren't moving out, and so things are reabsorbed. The same reason why women are more likely to get, breast cancer if they got constipation. The end products of estrogen get reabsorbed, and so that's the trash. The trash keeps on getting reabsorbed. So I guess that's a long answer, but yeah, so they might go for half their weight in grams of protein. So if they weigh 150 pounds, they might have 75 grams of protein a day, and just try to be stringent on the carbs, yeah, to get their weight down, for those kind of particular things. Yeah.
all right. So the ultimate purpose of the conversation is to people can have direct conversation with the doctor. They are listening to a doctor because
Yeah.
in some cases, we have to tell people if you have any kind of medical issue, go for the doctor's advice first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we are really very lucky to have you here, so I can directly have some conversation and put some question of my viewers in front of you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, very glad to be here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good conversation.
yeah, exactly. So thank you so much for being here, and really feeling honored to have you here. And you solved many queries, and even I need to keep in touch with you to learn more from.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great being here.
Yeah. Moreover, I would love to recommend your page to my people so they can have a good knowledge, a good quality knowledge all the way from a doctor from Oregon, United States, right?
Oh yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I'm at dr.emily Emily Gannaway Gannaway, and then it's probably going to be in the middle of July. I'm going to have a free virtual pain summit, so pain and rehab summit. So we have a lot of different speakers, and they'll be talking about the fashion, a lot of interesting topics. So I do suggest everybody sign up for that. Yeah.
All right. So let me know wherever it is, so I can put some stories on my Instagram page, so
Great.
people can blessed with that knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. And right now I'm in Toronto, but basically I am from India. So
Yeah.
yeah, some people from both the countries watching you, maybe some from United States in upcoming time.
Oh, great.
Any message from Canada and India from you?
Oh, yeah. I hope you guys all stay well, and yeah, definitely join for the summit. There's going to be a lot of good information. I've been recording the talks, and people just really brought their best, and hope to see you there. Yeah.
All right, so people, we are ending our conversation here. Thanks to Emily for being here and for a very valuable time.
Oh yeah, thanks so much.
Okay.
Hope you all take care. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep lifting, keep eating healthy, and stay fit.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Emily,
great
any
day.
message from your side?
Oh, yeah, eat healthy, talk to your doctor, see if you need more protein, make sure you're staying hydrated, yeah, electrolytes, and yeah, stay active, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, have a great day.